There are 1,000 paths, right? So, holding the metaphor of the philosopher, then the best help to the philosopher would be to behold a man, common man, whatever, who is philosophically sound and doesn't need the philosopher. There are 1,000 paths that have never yet been trodden, 1,000 healths and hidden isles of life. Even now, man and man's earth are unexhausted and undiscovered. We have to posit a whole new set of values. When Zarathustra had said these words, he became silent, like one who has not yet said his last word. Long he weighed his staff in his hand, doubtfully. At last he spoke thus, and the tone of his voice had changed. Now I go alone, my disciples. You too go now, alone. Thus I want it. Verily I counsel you. Go away from me and resist Zarathustra. And even better, be ashamed of him. Perhaps he deceived you. I don't know exactly what he's doing there. Something like, all right, now go and think about it for yourselves. The man of knowledge must not only love his enemies. Well, that's what Christ said, love thy enemy, right? He must also be able to hate his friends. Turning the tables on Jesus again. One repays a teacher badly if one always remains nothing but a pupil. And why do you not want to pluck at my wreath? I don't know what that sentence means, but yeah, it's been attributed to everybody, from Leonardo da Vinci to some ancient Greeks to some ancient Chinese guy, that a teacher hasn't done their job unless one of their pupils surpasses that teacher. You revere me, but what if your reverence tumbles one day? Beware lest a statue slay you. So you've put me on a pedestal in the form of like a statue or something, and someday there may be an event and I'll fall over. So best not to put the statue up there, because I might kill you when I fall down. You say you believe in Zarathustra? But what matters Zarathustra? You are my believers, but what matter all believers? You had not yet sought yourselves, and you found me. Didn't even seek themselves out, they found Zarathustra. Thus do all believers, therefore all faith amounts to so little. Now I bid you lose me and find yourselves, and only when you have all denied me will I return to you. What? That's straight out of the Bible, right? I don't know. So Jesus said something about his disciples denying him and then he would return or something like that. Maybe not. Don't ask me. I'm not a theologian. Man, there is a truck route that goes by the house here. We skip a few pages, notes on the next section and such. And this section's titled The Child with the Mirror. Then Zarathustra returned again to the mountains and to the solitude of his cave, and withdrew from men, waiting like a sower who has scattered his seed. Just plant your stuff and then wait. But his soul grew full of impatience and desire for those whom he loved, because he still had much to give them. For this is what is hardest, to close the open hand because one loves, and to keep a sense of shame as a giver. Alright, to keep a sense of shame as a giver. You're in the act of giving, you're not supposed to be proud and uppity, but there is that tendency that when you are giving, you feel that you're above and better than or something. This I recall from either The Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged, and there's bits in both of them about it, but that, let's see, it was Katie, yeah, Peter Keating's girlfriend. She despised people who tried to pull themselves up out of poverty. She helped them. She devoted her life to working in soup kitchens or whatnot. But if someone were to pull themselves up and become wealthy, she cut them off and didn't talk to them and didn't see them and stuff. I think that was Katie. Might have been in Atlas Shrugged. In which case, I don't know who would be Cheryl Taggart, maybe? Thus months and years passed for the solitary, but his wisdom grew and caused him pain with its fullness. One morning, however, he woke before the dawn, reflected long, lying in his bed, and at last spoke to his heart. Why was I so startled in my dream that I awoke? And here's his dream. Did not a child step up to me carrying a mirror? "Oh, Zarathustra," the child said to me, "look at yourself in the mirror." But when I looked into the mirror, I cried out, and my heart was shaken, for it was not myself I saw, but a devil's grimace and a scornful laughter. Verily, all too well do I understand the sign and admonition of the dream. My teaching is in danger. Weeds pose as wheat. Pretty good line there. Weeds pose as wheat. That happens pretty often in philosophy. I would say that is people like Azrianok in some of his videos where he doesn't say anything, but it's nonsense, and people who aren't paying attention can be fooled into thinking he said something. Professor Anton is another one like that. Blah, 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 blah. They never say a damn thing, and then everyone says, "Oh my God, you're so smart." Okay, weeds pose as wheat. My enemies have grown powerful and have distorted my teaching, till those dearest to me must be ashamed of the gifts I give them. I have lost my friends. The hour has come to seek my lost ones. With these words Zarathustra leapt up, but not like a frightened man seeking air, rather as a seer and a singer, sing, la la la, who is moved by the Spirit. Amazed, his eagle and serpent looked at him, for, like dawn, a coming happiness lay reflected in his face. "What has happened to me, my animals?" said Zarathustra. "Have I not changed? Has not bliss come to me as a storm?" Nice mixed metaphor. Bliss came to me like a storm. "My happiness is foolish, and will say foolish things. It is still young, so be patient with it. I am wounded by my happiness. Let all who suffer be my physicians." Cryptic. I left that in because it is an interesting thought, that the people who suffer would be his physicians because his happiness has wounded him. That's very tangled. We skip a few paragraphs. "Like a cry and a shout of joy, I want to sweep over wide seas till I find the blessed isles where my friends are dwelling." The blessed isle. Oh, isles, yeah. "And my enemies among them." His friends and enemies somewhere. He wants to find them. "How I now love all to whom I may speak. My enemies too are part of my bliss." Right? So he doesn't just want to preach to the choir. He wants to preach to his enemies too. "And when I want to mount my wildest horse, it is always my spear that helps me up the best, as the ever-ready servant of my foot. The spear that I hurl against my enemies. How grateful I am to my enemies that I may finally hurl it." Now this reminds me very much of Christopher Hitchens, who, after the fall of communism and the abject failure of Marxism across the world and capitalism in the ascendancy in the 1990s, he said, he was just basically drink-sodden and depressed. And he said, after September 11th, he said, I'll never get bored of fighting these people. And he certainly hasn't, has he? He's gone on an absolute rampage of writing books and other stuff and speaking. So, "I am grateful to my enemies that I may finally hurl my spear." So Hitchens he ended up defending capitalism, and he was kept somewhat silent on the issue of capitalism itself. But he did finally get to start attacking religion again, like socialists are wont to do. We skip one paragraph. "Indeed, you too will be frightened, my friend.